Hello, everybody. My name's Tiffany. I'm the Tipsy artist. Today we are painting an adorable little painting for Halloween, and it is called Be Afraid. And so it's going to have this cute little bee that's dressed up like a little ghost, and then our fun little jack-o'-lantern. And we have a traceable with this. So we give you all the supplies that you need on our website, tipsyartist.com. We have this as a painting kit. All right, so let's go ahead and start talking about our supplies. Look at our lovely little paints. All right, so we're going to use our little paint set here. And then I've got a few basic paints already out, some titanium white, some Mars black. And then, of course, we have our lovely little brushes here. I have my little family. This is my mama brush. Then this is Little Buddy. Then this is Little Bit. We have our napkins. And then just a little visual here when it comes to a kit, kind of wrap it up and make it look cute. And then, of course, we have all the supplies that you need. So again, I'll leave the link below. All right, so a few little words I have worked ahead, but I do have the transfer paper and the traceable in the kit. And that is why you use the pencil to go ahead and trace over that. It will transfer the image here. And then you can also use the permanent marker that comes in the kit. And I think this is very helpful on this one. I go ahead and line it out on top with that permanent marker there. So I'm done with that, and I'm going to go ahead and place this off to the side. I do have a whole nother video that is just about the transfer process, which is on my YouTube channel too, so you can look that up. And also, if you have not subscribed, we would absolutely love it and be so very thankful if you did subscribe. We are a small family business, and that really helps us out a lot. So thank you so much. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, we're going to go ahead and keep in mind too, this is an inspiration. This is actually from one of my little watercolors here. So we're transferring it to this, and we're doing more of what I would call this is acrylic painting. All right, so we're going to start with our background first. I am going to be using some of this cobalt blue. We're going to do a little, we'll call that like a dime size amount there. And then let's go ahead and add, see what this ultramarine blue here. A little touch of that. And then I already have out my white. So that would be plus here, titanium white. And then here we go, lamp white. Okay. All right, we're going to start with the Mama brush. I'm going to go ahead and put her in the water just a little bit. Go ahead and dab off here. And we're going to pick up a nice size dollop of that white paint. And we're going to do just a teeny tiny touch of the black. We're going to work that in. That's going to give us some light gray to play with. Also touch into that cobalt blue there a little bit too. All right, very pretty. Okay, we're going to start to place this into the background. I'm going to do a textural stroke. It's going to feel like you're making the letter X over and over and over again. So you're going to hold that brush when you're trying to get good coverage over to the side. You're going to hold that brush a little bit more parallel to the canvas. And you can add a little bit of water to your paint as well. That will help extend the paint. Really helps it flow into the pores of the canvas too. So it's quite lovely. And we're just going to work that into our background. Add a little more water. And again, just kind of crisscross that in, back and forth. You can also pick up a little bit of just the pure white too and kind of work that in, just back and forth. A little bit more of that nice texture right over the top. Now, when we get to our lettering, I'm going to add a little bit more water to make the paint a bit more translucent. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do a nice light wash of that background paint over the lettering. Now you can see that my lettering will bleed through. And you can add a little bit more water to it too, just to be sure. You don't want to cover that. You don't want to lose that hard work that you did with your trace. So let's add a little bit more water, a little more of a firm hand to get more of that translucent wash over the top. And then you can see, then when that dries, then we'll come back in with our permanent marker and we'll go ahead and redo our lettering here. But that way it gives you the freedom to just paint in to the background and not have to worry about all that tedious cutting work. You don't want to do all that lettering. I'm going to go ahead and cut in around our little ghost. Now that I'm doing some cutting work, I am shifting how I hold the brush a little bit. So when you're trying to fill into the background with those feathering strokes, then you hold the handle more over to the side, parallel to the canvas. When you do your cutting work, then you hold the brush like a pencil, and you do that little cut in around the shape. And if it gets to be pretty tiny, then you can also, we're going to be using our little kiddos for some tinier cut-in work for you. And again, anything that's like the bats, again, I've got that reference. It's bleeding through, add a little bit of water to make that paint more of a translucent wash over that surface area. And we'll come back in and fill in that bat. Yeah, there we go. And kind of loosely cutting in around the tree. Don't forget about that water. Really helps. And do some feathery strokes in here to really help work in that textural background. And you can see as I'm starting to work in more, I'm gradually working in a little bit more of that cobalt blue. And I know I put down some of that ultramarine. I may or may not use that. We'll just see. Have it just in case. Be careful around it. A little bit more cobalt blue up here. Sweep that in. And big broad strokes across here. It's got a little bit more water. Help that flow into the space. It's looking fabulous. And then I'm going to put a little more water over the top. Make sure that is translucent. You can still see those beautiful letters. And we're just continuing this all the way down. even underneath our little pumpkins. And our tree. So it's looking a little bit more like a slate. You know, we've got that cobalt blue, the white, and then Atlantic black. We're working all those in together. You know, we've got a little bit more of that shadow underneath here, so I'm grabbing a little bit more of that lamp black. Mixing that in with the white and our slate blue. Mix that over to the white. And then pull that blue. Sweep that in, have a nice horizontal stroke, just back and forth. Okay, pull that to the side, and then pull off the side of the canvas here. A little bit more of that gray, and sweep it off to the side. All right. Looking really great. I'm going to go ahead and rinse out here. Make sure that is completely clean. When I go to clean my brushes, I do go ahead and do like a firm press, spinning the brush round and round and round, and then I go ahead and pull it out, and then I can just check for it to be clean, and I'll go ahead and dry it off here. But these are acrylic paints. They do sit up and dry pretty quickly, so you do want to make sure that you wash them off quickly. All right, we're going to go ahead and work on this fun little yellow part for our little bee here. So I'm going to be using some yellow ochre. Let's do, I'm going to spin this to a little pea-size amount of that. Let's go ahead and take our little bit brush, add a little dab of water, little dab on the paper towel. That'll help our brush be nice and flexible in case it's kind of stiff from being brand new. And then I'm just going to clean them out of white. That's going to help. Doesn't really change the color that much. It lightens it just a tad, but it mainly helps it have better coverage, thickness on the surface. And then I'm going to go ahead and work this very carefully into this little stripe here. And as I'm loading up the brush, I do a little twirl into that paint. So it loads up the brush, but it also twirls it into a nice fine point. I'm going to turn it to this angle so I can have a better vantage point here on this other side. Pretty. And this next section here. Yeah. Right. Let's go ahead and rinse out, dry off. All right, now we need to get, and since we have our blue, let's go ahead and work in there. So now we're going to be using that ultramarine blue. Get a visual here. There's that darker blue. And then our cobalt blue. And then our white. And Also, a little touch of that black will create that sleigh. So I'm gonna grab, using my little bit brush here, let's grab a little bit of white, a little bit of that ultramarine blue, black. And we're gonna go ahead and outline. Just gonna create the shadow of the pumpkin. And with these strokes, you're gonna be holding the brush more like you would hold a pencil. So that will give you a lot more control when you're going around those little edges. A little bit more of that pure ultramarine blue. Add a little touch of that around the pumpkin. Another little curve here. Another curve here. Curve here. All these cute little curves. And then I'm gonna rinse out because it's pretty dark. I'm gonna go ahead and get a clean brush again. We're gonna go into some more of this white. A little bit of watermelon. And do a bit more of the white and lighter cobalt. We're gonna go white. Swirl into that. And then we're just gonna work into these little sections here. And you're gonna get a nice little soft fade into that outline since that paint is still wet. It extends that transitional blend into those little areas. And remember, this was from a watercolor, so it will have a little bit, this is our inspiration, but we're gonna have a very different look when we get done because we're using acrylics today. They definitely have a different feel. And we're gonna do a tiny little curve in here. Tiny little curves in here. So very delicate hand. You almost just want to act like you're barely touching the canvas. Okay, then good. Well, again, if I squeeze you out here a bit, and then I got a bit more of this ultra marine blue and cobalt blue. And we're gonna just start here from the top and do a little pull here. Same thing here, just a little pull from that base. A little pulls from the top and bottom in those little rounded sections. Mm-hmm. Add a little bit more detail on this little line here. And then something here, I'm gonna come back and maybe emphasize our little lines with a bit more of that ultramarine blue and that cobalt blue. So again, going back into that ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, and redefining those little lines there, those little curved lines. I'll do a little bit of a soft curve here. And feathering out a bit more of a soft curve here. Very gently, kind of barely touch the canvas and softly transition. And then one more here with a soft curve, almost like you're making a little happy face. And then go on it. Right. And a little bit of white in there to kind of help softly blend in that transition a bit. All right, beautiful. Now I'm going to go ahead and rinse out now. Dry off. Now we're going to mix up some of this beautiful orange color. And let's see here. We're going to use some vermilion. And some lemon yellow. Now I'm going to start with this vermilion, and I'm going to use that as my shadow. And I'm going to go ahead and go over that black line. And that will definitely help obscure that. And we're coming in a little curves around the base. And put this all the way around. Big, long. This almost feels like the shape of a parentheses. Put that all the way around. A little bit of that shadow in there. And then this is also a nice little shadow we're going to do with that vermilion. Just re-emphasize that. Go ahead and put that all the way around. Very gentle hands. And if you're looking for that thin point, then make sure and do that little spin, little twirl into the paint. That'll twirl it out to a nice fine point again. There and there. Got a curve here, got a curve here, and a curve here. And let's twirl it out again. And we're going to do this little line here. Another little line. There's a little line there too. A little bit of shadow and then a little line here. And let's do one more line all the way around this side of that triangle. Okay. Love it. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of that lemon yellow in with our vermilion, and that's going to bring us to a lovely little orange, kind of peachy color. Quite nice. And then that's what we're going to use to fill in. So let's do another little twirl to get a nice fine point. Looking for green. Make it even lighter by adding a little bit more of that lemon yellow in there. Let's grab some more lemon yellow in it. Have a little bit more brightness over the top, and then probably even do a little bit more, just that pure lemon yellow, resting gently even more on top as a nice highlight. But then lightens up even more. Just nice little sweeps again. That stroke kind of feels like a little, like you're making a little parentheses. That's a familiar stroke that we're used to. Soft gentle curves in here. And then we'll come into the middle. There's a teeny bit in here too. And put it in there. Filling all that in. Making sure I'm going over all those little shadows, get that really dark vermilion. This looks like a shadow and a hard black line. And coming back in with just a bit more of that pure vermilion, do those little tiny delicate lines around the shadows of the eye, or that it's cut in a little bit. Reinforcing it. And definitely use a very light hand if you want that vermilion to just really pop right over the top. It's giving some nice coverage. Yay! So cute. All right, and then we'll come back in and spruce up and define our black here a little bit. Okay, so now we can do our little tree. So it's just going to be a lovely mix of our ultramarine blue, maybe a little touch of that cobalt blue and the black. So a little bit of water. We're going to come back in and use our little bit brush again. And I'm just going to start to fill in, and a lot of water, and that really helps this flow into the surface area. And especially when you get out to the tip, and lift off with a light hand, and that'll give that nice delicate point at the end of the plant. So it's more firm pressure when you're working into the thickness of the trees. And then when we get out to the very end, we're going to lift off on pressure and then lift off with a light hand. And that will give you that really nice fine point. Have to add a little bit of that at the very end there too. You know, a bit more of that blue, we'll just work that in there. And I do want to be real careful as I do my cutting work. Around this function, very carefully. And then I'll probably sort of gather out that texture in the middle. Add a little bit of water. Again, right, and again, ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, black. And then we're just gonna do that press in the middle, and then remember when you go out to the edge. Lift off of that white one. Something green. And then, of course, remember too that if you ever get a little bit behind, you can always just pause with me. And then hit play again when you're ready. That is a lovely little tree there. Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and rinse out. Okay, so there's a couple of different options you can start to have. You're getting into this work with the bats, and if this is all set up and dry, then you can absolutely just use your permanent marker, and I'll show you both ways, but that's going to be a lot easier for you to do that too. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot my little stems. Let's do those real quick, and then we'll get to that part. All right, so still using a little bit brush. We're going to mix that. Actually, we have burnt sienna. We don't even really have to do that much mixing, but this is our red little brown we're going to use. I'll probably add a little bit of the lemon yellow with it. We do also have the raw amber. Yeah, that's fine. Wow, love it. All right, let's grab a little bit of that raw amber and out of that burnt sienna. And we'll go ahead and do a little outside outline here. And then grab a little bit more of that burnt sienna to fill into the middle. Need a check. And then this one's black. I'm loving the browns. I'm gonna stick with that. We're gonna do that. You can do black if you want them. I'm doing a little more of the raw umber to start with. And then we're going to come back in with our burnt sienna in the center and lay that in right over the top. Get a nice soft blend between the two. This is just a nice little curve. Really pretty. All right. So with our bats here, now we're just going to paint it in old school. Then you're going to take a little dip of water and then work this into your clear black. Do that little spin and follow along basically right over the top. Start with those outside edges and then I will just fill in with a little bit more thickness with the brush. The other thing you can do too is like a kind of a combination of both. You can do like some with the Sharpie here. You could just do the outside and then fill in, which is also a really nice way to use both of your tools. I'm gonna turn this a bit. Especially if you have a shaky hand. This is a really great tool for you. And another thing that's really important is that you never want to use this permanent marker on wet paint because it'll just ruin the permanent marker. And you don't want to do that. You want to have a nice long life with your permanent marker. So want to make sure that that paint is really dry before you start to use this. I'm going to continue just with painting here. And with all this in. And I'm still using my little bit brush. And don't forget about that little twirling action, which can really give you that nice fine point again. Very helpful when you're starting to do all this detail work. There are cute little bats. Love it. All right, now let's rinse out Now we're definitely getting to, so we're gonna clean up our little outlines here, and my paint's all set up and dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my permanent marker again. And you can use the paintbrush for this too, but I'll give you a little work on it here in a minute. Just doing that outline. And then that's that one here. And then we're gonna do, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and do my lettering now. And since my paint is still wet, I do not want to put my hand into any of that paint. So let's go ahead and fold it up a little bit here. And just very carefully turn them over the top. And of course, when you're working at home, you're not under any time constraints with filming, so you can just let it set up and dry for a little bit and then come back in and do this to where you don't have to worry about disturbing any of that paint. I'm just gonna dial my A a little bit there, that's okay. Just want to make sure it's really looking like an A. All right, so ta-da, there's my beautiful lettering. And then you can do a couple different things. You can either do your define of your V stripes with your actual brush, or you could do it with your permanent marker here. I'm gonna go ahead and shift back to the brush here. A little bit more water in that. It'll help that flow into the pores of the canvas. And this is a very simple, easy painting, great for beginners, very super easy. And that's beautiful. And then, of course, if you want to add any more to it, you're certainly welcome. But I think we're pretty much done. And then you can just sign your masterpiece. And I definitely love to use the permanent marker for that. So I'm going to go ahead and just sign here. I just write this Tipsy artist. Ta-da! Sometimes I sign Tiffany Bora, but usually on these paintings, it's kind of easy fun for beginners. I just sign Tipsy artist. All right. Well, that is it. We are done. And again, all the supplies that you need are on our website at tipsyartist.com. And we're so thankful for y'all. We hope y'all have a very blessed holiday season. And we're sending much love. We love y'all. Toodles.